Welcome to another edition of Flex Rental Solutions how-to videos. Today we're going to be going over the ability to configure Google Calendar integration with Flex Rental Solutions. The basic concept behind this feature is we've got calendars in Flex that we want to push that information over to a calendar template in Google. The first step that we have to do in this is to configure the permission per either user group or per user. If we go to, say, System Settings and Users, I'm going to look at my specific user, Chris Stein, and look at my permissions. And under the Project Manager module, you can see Can Sync with Google Calendars right now is denied. And if we look at my user under the Calendar menu, we don't have the ability to configure Google Calendars. So I'm going to take this permission that is denied and grant it. I'm going to log out of the system and log back in. This is what will generate my new permissions for my user. And so now underneath the calendar menu, you will see a new calendar permission setting. The decision that most people will want to make here is, do we want to push out generic information of all of our different elements, or do we want to make this a very specific subset of elements? As an example, most people will take their default calendar, hit edit, and they'll create a Google default and save as a copy. So now we're going to create a new template in Flex that we want to push out to Google. What most people will do is say, I don't need my credit memos or documents or anything like this heading over to Google. And I'm going to remove every bit of information out of this except for my quotes as an example. So we're removing any possible element. So we're going to basically filter everything out. Finally, what we'll do under quotes is we may say, I would only like my quotes that are confirmed or invoice created to show up on this calendar. And we'll verify that these get enabled under the global statuses. So now if we go back up, we are only seeing confirmed jobs in here, and we'll hit this edit and save. So what we've told the system is we've created a calendar that will only have confirmed jobs on it. Everything else will not be pushed over to Google. That way, when you look at this on your phone, you're not showing every inquiry or tentative job, you're just looking at confirmed jobs. So this is the calendar that we're going to configure to push to Google. Now, what most people will do is they will also create a specific template in Google to sync to Flex side. So you may have a home calendar on your Google template or a work calendar. Instead of populating that same information to Flex over to here, you may want to create a secondary template to connect it to. So you can turn it on or off if you choose. So under My Calendars in Google, we're going to create a new calendar. I'm going to call this Test Flex. I'm not going to share this with any others as of now, but I'm going to create this calendar. And so now, if we refresh, we've got this calendar called Test Flex in our system. And if we remove everything else, there's no data inside of it. We're going to go back to Google here, or to Flex, and go to our Google Calendar settings. And I'm going to link to a Google account. This is going to go and check to see if I am logged into any Google Calendars as of now, which I am. and it relogs into Flex, And so these are all the templates in Google that I have. So now we're going to take this and say, I want to connect to this TextFlex calendar. Double click that and say, what calendar template do I want to connect it to? And I'm going to say, I'm going to connect my TextFlex Google Calendar to my Google Calendar in Flex. And I'm just going to hit save. So it's loading all that information. So TextFlex is connected to the Google default and it's set to not expire. So now I'm going to refresh here and it looks like we've got my test quote that appeared in here and we've got a long-term quote that's showing up here. If I click on there, it'll just give me some very generic information. It's basically just showing up on our calendar. So if I go back to Flex, start a new job, and go to a quote, then all these new elements will be pushed to my Google Calendars as they populate and sync with each other. And I'm going to confirm this quote. So now we'll go back to our Google Calendar because this is confirmed. I'm going to go to my dashboard. So this is the calendar for the whole month. If I look at my Google default calendar, again, that's just, again, all my confirmed jobs only. And I'm going to refresh this calendar. We're looking at the beginning of the month. If I scroll forward, there's our new test quote from the 16th to the 17th. If we ever need to unlink these calendars, you could go back to your calendar, Google Calendar settings, double click this, and then unlink that calendar and it will no longer push data to that calendar in Google. I hope that gives you a good insight in how we can create Google Calendars and sync them together, and gives you some insight into why we set things up specifically. If you have any specific questions, please contact support@flexrentalsolutions.com. Thanks. Bye-bye.